All right, here we are. Contracts in arm wrestling. Bullshit. Don't need them, right? When you think about contracts, okay, or sporting contracts, okay. So if you have the NFL and then you have a bunch of teams with a bunch of players, okay. You have the company, many teams, many players. Now, to stop many players from just swapping teams, right, and all the good people going onto one team and just making sure that team wins, they have contracts, right? The contracts, you could say, are for the money, but it's not, right? Because you can pay players per game. Be like, yo, hey, here's $50,000 a game. Why don't you come play for me? They'll be like, no, come play for me. I'll pay you 65. So contracts have nothing to do with paying the players money, because if you don't pay them, they're not going to show up, right? So contracts only prevent the players from playing elsewhere or doing other things, right? Now, when you get into the arm wrestling, there's no teams to play for, right? So the only reason you would want contracts on an arm wrestler is to control him. Now, Brad Grundy, I love you, no offense, but good point. I'll address it. He was like, well, contracts also prevent, like let's say you're an arm wrestler, the guy who gave you the contract wouldn't want you playing basketball or something where you might break your arm. But that's his life, right? Like, that's what Igor Mazarenko wanted. He didn't want people. He just wanted these drones that arm wrestled, okay? Now, once you start putting contracts and saying, oh, well, you can't go down a water slide when you go on vacation because you might get hurt, and if you do, you're going to lose all your money. Sorry, man, like, I just don't agree with that, right? Like, if I contract somebody and like something happens to them, that's what happens, bro. You're not just gonna put in the contract, oh yeah, you can't live a life, you can't really do anything that's gonna be risky, you can't ride a motorcycle, a bicycle, skateboard, surf, all these things you can't do because you might hurt yourself on the 1 day or 2 days a year that I let you arm wrestle. I don't know, man. I don't, it's just one person versus one person, right? Like, if I wanted to arm wrestle somebody, I could be like, yo, let's arm wrestle. And they're like, okay, let's get a table. We'll find out who's better. If it was an NFL team, I'd be like, yo, we got to set the whole thing up. We got to get all the other players. We got to get the organization, helmets, like, again, so I think arm wrestling contracts, we've already seen it. We saw Igor in Top 8. We saw what happened when you give contracts. Everybody was so up in arms because, oh, they can't arm wrestle at any other time because they're under contracts. This is horrible. Then Engen comes around, and instead of, outwardly being an asshole like Mazarenko was, he's keeping it inside, but it's the same shit. He wants contracts. So nobody was talking about how Mazarenko was an asshole when he did the contracts. They were just talking about the contracts, because when you contract an athlete, you kind of got to be an asshole, right? So I think if you're contracting arm wrestlers, it's the only reason would be to control them, right? Arm wrestling, you show up one day for an hour. You arm wrestle a guy, you get out of there, right? There's no other promotion except for yourself. You're not beholden to the NFL or to the Seahawks or to a sponsor. It's just you. But now once you get all this money into it, you start saying shit, you start looking a certain way, you start doing a certain way, it's not the same. So, I don't know. I think at the end of the day, it doesn't matter who is handing you the contract and telling you to sign it, right? It's the idea that, why do I need to sign this contract to arm wrestle? Why don't you just give me $50,000 to arm wrestle this guy? And then you pay me, I pay you, and then if you want to organize a thing about it, then do it. But as far as contracts, nah, don't like it. Look, if you got a contract to arm wrestle for $50,000 and you want to go doing super matches where you might break your arm, then you're an idiot, right? Like, you'll probably do that with or without a contract. So no contracts in arm wrestling. Get them the fuck out.